Trump threatens to shut down the borders for the third time in 3 months. Now, I did talk about the issue of the border wall the other day, but it was mostly in the context of Trump refusing to back down. To just sum it up real quick, if the Democrats think they're going to win this, they're nuts. You've lost it. There is no way Trump will back down. You're going to have to override veto after veto. You can pass whatever budgets you want. If you don't give him his wall, he's just going to be like, nope, veto. Back to Congress. And I really doubt they'll get the votes to override a veto. So this basically means at this point, look, personally, I don't blame Trump more than I blame Congress for the border wall because, they're both being hard-headed. But you have to realize the logical outcome. Democrats, it's not going to end until you give Trump what he wants. So he's the president. This is what the public elected. Normally I would say something like, don't give in to those, who are throwing a fuss and refusing to negotiate. But in this instance, he's the president who was elected, and I think we're going to have to move forward on this one. We're going to have to do it. Not that I agree with it. But let's talk about how closing it entirely would be a logistical nightmare and could spark an international trade dispute. Vox says, the federal government isn't the only thing that President Donald Trump is fine with closing down over his pet project, border wall. He's content with shuttering the entire southern border too. But the rub is that neither of his demands, either for the $5 billion in border wall funding or for a shutdown of the ports of entry between the U.S. and Mexico, are being taken very seriously. And they should. And this is one of the criticisms the right has of the left, that the left takes Trump literally but not seriously, and the right takes him seriously but not literally. Right? When Trump says something, he said, Hillary Clinton acid washed her server. NBC said, fact check, false. Hillary Clinton didn't pour a corrosive substance on her computer. And it's like, well, of course that's not what he meant. Are you nuts? They thought he was literally saying that. No, take Trump seriously because he's going to shut the border down. He already shut down the San Ysidro border several times. It's going to happen. I can't believe people doubt him at this point. Like, I don't understand how you can be on the left, constantly rag on Trump's hard-headedness, his how he's a bully, how he hastily reacts to things and just does whatever he wants, and then think you're going to win on a fight like this or that he won't shut the border down. I'll tell you what, you're nuts. There is no plan in sight to fund the roughly 25% of the federal government that almost certainly will remain closed at least through the new year, when Democrats take over the House. And so the president took to Twitter on Friday ranting that he'd be forced to shut down the U.S.-Mexico border if Congress refuses to meet his demands. He followed up with more threats to cut off foreign aid to countries in Central America, trying to stir up panic around a new migrant caravan en route to the U.S. Oh, can we talk about that now? There's another caravan. Apparently, it's like 15,000 people. I should probably just make a video about that. Trump finds himself this holiday season ensconced in the White House after canceling Christmas and New Year's plans at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida with his wife Melania. Barring a brief visit to American troops overseas, he spent the week actively spinning up other baseless assertions about border security on Twitter and criticizing congressional Democrats who have refused to meet his $5 billion ask. Aren't like Chuck Schumer or like some Democrats on vacation in Hawaii or something? Trump canceled his vacation. In my opinion, look, you've got a PR battle going on. Trump canceling New Year's? Oh, that's gotta suck, man. I'm so excited for New Year's. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. And Trump's canceling that to do this. And the point is, I'm not saying this to praise Trump. I'm saying Trump supporters love this. They love the man has canceled his own holiday to fight for border security. You're not gonna win on this one. Meanwhile, the calls at Capitol Hill are nearly dead silent, with congressional leaders barely pretending to try to reopen the Department of Justice, Interior and Homeland Security, and other agencies that remain unfunded. Remember, Trump said repeatedly while on the campaign trail, and also as president, that Mexico would pay for the border wall. That obviously isn't happening. But shutting down the border entirely over the president's pet project would not only be a logistical mess, it would effectively spark an international trade issue over the domestic funding dispute. And I just want to take a quick moment to point out the problem with websites like Vox. You stop calling it a pet project. There's no reason to include that at all. Just call it the president's wall. Pet project is clearly meant to deride the president and diminish the wall. It's not an argument, it's a manipulation. But don't get me wrong, Trump is really good at doing the same thing. Lil Marco, Lion Ted, Disgusting, Kasich, Crooked Hillary. It's how he targets the character of the individual over the issue. It's exactly what Vox does too. You can see why I'm not a fan of Trump. Trump has threatened to shutter the southern border before, and why I also really don't like Vox. Trump has threatened to shutter the southern border before. He's yet to follow through. That's not necessarily true. Oh, yes, okay, he never shut down the entire border, but San Ysidro port of entry. It's become a perennial occurrence for Trump to threaten a wholesale shutdown of the southern border. He did so in October in response to the caravan of migrants traveling on foot from Central America, and again over Thanksgiving he threatened the same if Mexico didn't step up security. But his threats to shut down the border in its entirety never materialized. One reason for the lack of follow-through is that he has few options. As the Washington Post reports, the federal government can't unilaterally block American citizens from entering the U.S., and though Trump has tried to block asylum seekers from accessing ports of entry, a federal court has already batted down those restrictions. Not only that, shutting down the border would mean closing the ports of entry, not the huge gaping holes where people run through and smuggle drugs through and things like that. So you would still have illegal immigration and things of that nature. Now, there are people on the left saying, if Trump could just shut down the border, what does he need a wall for? And I'm like, there is a difference between what is essentially kind of like an economic sanction and a wall that stops drug smugglers from coming in. Trump shutting down the border is more of a threat, of a type of like sanction, in my opinion. He's like, hey, look, we're going to restrict trade across the board until we get funding for this. Right? It's a threat. So even if Trump wanted to use national security as a justification for closures, the blockade could only be temporary and would mostly affect commerce. And by some estimates, the plan could cost billions. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has kept quiet about the impasse over U.S. federal funding. But a wholesale shutdown would inevitably put the majority of pressure on the shoulders of border state businesses and corporations. Mexico is the U.S.'s third largest trade partner. Last year, trade of goods and services between the two countries topped $615.9 billion. Let's break that down. We're looking at over $1 billion per, is that $1 billion per day? Yeah, it's over $1 billion per day. It's not just impractical. It's also not a good negotiating position for a president who already faces an uphill battle in January dealing with a divided government for the first time in his presidency. So we have Ted Lieu tweeted, Dear GOP leader McCarthy, I will leave it up to you to tell California businesses that the leader of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, wants to shut down all trade along California's southern border. And that's probably not a good idea, but we'll pop that open real quick. And I'll just say, I want to comment on this. It's not just impractical, but it's not a good negotiating position. Oh, is that what you think? Do you think Trump needs a good negotiating position for the most part? What does Trump do when he meets a world leader? He grabs their hand, pulls them forward, and shakes them. And everybody's like, why is he doing that? Because Trump knows how to push buttons. Trump knows how to assert himself over other people. Trump is a very large man. And look, in the campaign in 2016, how did he win? Did he win because he had better ideas than the other candidates? Not really. Yes, some of Trump's ideas were better for Republicans than others, but he won because he was able to diminish the characters and display strength. What are people looking for in a leader? Are they looking for someone who can calmly sit there with his glass on going, well, I think that the true path towards fixing border security would be an invisible barrier of drones? Or do they want someone to be like, we're going to get them all out, everybody out, and just yells? They want to see someone strong. It's what I talk to people when it comes, I talk to people about this when it comes to like sales and marketing. Why the slick, snake oil salesman is going to outsell a genuinely good product every time. It's because if you come to me and you're like, well, my product is kind of okay. Like, I believe in it, though. I'm going to be like, uh-huh. And if a guy comes up to me and he's like, let me tell you what, buddy, it's the best product you'll ever use in the world. Better than everyone else's. That guy, total liar. I'm going to be like, well, this guy seems pretty confident. And so I have to choose to trust somebody. I can, because I don't know who to trust. This guy says it's the best. This guy says it's not the best. And if I weigh the trust equally, I'm going to go with the guy who's a slick talker. Trump understands these principles. He wrote a book about how this works. I can't believe that anyone thinks that Trump either, look, Trump talks about something called the big ask. I think it's called, basically, it's possible Trump won't really shut the border down. But what he did in the past few months kind of makes sense to follow, if you look at what Trump is actually doing. Trump will say, we'll shut the whole border down. Everyone goes, and they freak out. Then he shuts down one port of entry and everyone goes, he only shut down San Ysidro. And that was probably his goal the entire time. He's playing you. He knows how to do business. He's been a businessman his whole life. What would happen if Trump just shut down San Ysidro? Everybody would freak out and start, pulling their hair out. So what does Trump do? He threatens a mass closure and then pulls it back. That's the big ask. It's like when it comes to sales, you always want to throw a big number out to shock them. That way, when you lower it, it sounds reasonable. Hey, that candy bar, that's $1,000. Whoa, $1,000. All right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you for $100. Whoa, that's so cheap, 90% off. Wow. That's how sales work. In my opinion, what Trump is doing here is likely going to be another big ask. Trump wants $5 billion. I bet it only needs like 3.5 or 4. He's probably doing a big ass because he knows better. And the same thing with shutting down the border wall, he knows better. I think it's ridiculous that people would call Donald Trump an idiot. Look, I have no problem calling him buffoonish, a bully, but to act like the dude doesn't know what he's doing is crazy to me. There are a lot of people who have been in his administration or who know him who claim that he is not a smart person. They're like, oh man, he's so dumb. And I'm like, yeah, but listen, if someone's talking to me and I don't care about what they're saying because they're stupid, they're going to assume I'm just oafishly just going, whatever, because I don't understand it. When in reality, you're not saying anything important. I think Trump's a smart guy. I think he knows what he's doing. I'm not saying he's the smartest guy in the world. And I'm not saying that he's smarter than most other politicians. I'm just saying, don't underestimate him when he's won time and time again. And to act like he doesn't know what he's doing now, you're crazy and you're probably going to lose this one. Anyway, that's it for now. You can follow me on Twitter. More videos tomorrow on the main channel. I'll see y'all then.